next storyteller, his secret fact, if he's ready. You're ready, next storyteller, right? Okay. His secret fact is that President's Choice Kalamata olives, he says, make him moan, which I'm assuming is like good sex moan and not like, you've stuffed loads of olives in my mouth, I can't speak. Please welcome Kevin Breathnac.
So I'm standing playing my big upright bass, and I got my buddies Sam and Paul, and they're playing alongside of me, and the crowd is just, they're going nuts. We're in the backyard of a small house in Vancouver, and we're dressed up in these sort of like dollar store pirate outfits, and the crowd, well, the biggest one's like the birthday boy, and he's like that big. But and we got this song we wrote the night before. It's about a treasure map. Whoa, for 7 years and 7 months and 7 weeks and 7 days, we've been looking for the map. Over 7 mountains, 7 hills, 7 oceans, 7 thrills, trying to find out where it's at. And it goes on and on. The crowd goes absolutely nuts. Tiny little crowd. And a year later, we're Sam's Rotten Pot and Pan Band, and we're playing all over Western Canada, and we're playing Vancouver, Calgary, and Winnipeg, and it's $200 each every time we play a show minimum. It's like half an hour attention span. It's really small. It's great. And the Harbourfront calls us out here, and we actually play out there outside in the lake right there, and the big finale is the exact same song. And as we've got the map at the end of the song, and the treasure is about to be ours shortly, and they got a big tall ship sailing in, and it's got the Jolly Roger on it, and the crowd just goes ape shit. I mean, absolutely. It's a tiny crowd, though. And it's a busy time. You know, I'm in the weekdays, I'm studying to be a physics teacher, and I got my little basement apartment is just filled with physics textbooks, and they're all talking about space and time. And then on the other side, I got these sort of ancient Hindu texts and Buddhist things, and I don't know why, but there's something in there that's just like, I want something. I don't know what it is. And, you know, I try one of these meditation retreats, and you sit from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. staring at your thoughts. And when the final gong goes, like half the people just sort of stagger off to their bed, and the other half, they go and sneak off and smoke the things they said vows against or whatever it is. And I don't know what's up with me. Like I sneak back in, and I sit for like another hour or something. I don't know. I'm looking for something. I don't really know. And, you know, but something's happening. And when I'm walking around, I'm on sort of like these childhood beaches of mine, you know, BC with the big mountains and all that. And I'm noticing like the little rocks and things, the beautiful little round ones. And they're all a different color, every single one of them, you know, and you know, like, where did all the sharp edges go? I'm just wondering this kind. And then I'm looking at the sands, exact same thing. Like every single one's a different color. And they got like a different sort of like crazy spiky shape. And then, of course, I realized the sand is the sharp edges and corners of the rocks. And then you get that feeling when you look over the mountains across the bay and you realize that the mountains and the rocks and the sand, it's all just the same thing, separated by time. And a lot of it that's happening to me, it's really mundane kind of things. It's like I can remember old Mr. McTavish talking about photosynthesis, and now I'm staring over at a little needle on a fir tree, and you know, I remember it's like a leaf, right? It's like, but it's sort of wrapped up. That's the way the pine trees and the firs are, and it's doing what a leaf does. It's just pulling in. It's actually pulling in little chunks of air, and it sort of lines up all those little chunks, and it mixes up with some water, and it sort of bakes it with the sunlight coming down, makes this little sort of carbon-based brick kind of thing, and then it uses that, and they make their bodies from it. And if you're tapping on a tree, it's sunlight, air, and water. And then, of course, we eat those things, and then I make my body out of the things I eat. And so in a very real way, I'm looking across the bay, and that setting sun, and the water, and the yellow sky up there, all that air, that's me, separated in time. And I remember actually hyperventilating, just, you know, it's just so something. And what I like so much about it and I still like so much about it, is the truth that it's true now in this room as well. All of it is it, if you take a deep breath, and right now, whatever's there, it's in your lungs right now. And your lungs are sort of filtering it out, and now it's in your bloodstream, and now your heart goes bam, sends that stuff flying. And now a little piece of this room is inside your fingertips. So don't break wind, please. And I remember looking across at the bay and the sky, and I'm thinking of something like the sky and something like me. And you can't imagine two more dissimilar things, two more completely different nouns. And if those two things, the boundaries between them can disappear in a single breath, then maybe I'm thinking, just maybe, if I can see it the right way, if I can wrap my head around it, I can find a way to realize that absolutely everything is really just one thing. And maybe that's 10-dimensional space-time, or maybe it's Atman, or Buddha, or Allah, or God. It's Friday night, and I'm on stage, and I'm playing in my buddy's cover band. And it's one of the diviest bars in Vancouver. And it's beer ads on the walls and sticky floors, and there's missing teeth everywhere. And I'm catching people's eyes, and I love it. And this has been happening a lot lately. It's just sort of where you get that thing, and you're just like, I'm alive, you're alive, and man, I fucking love you, And it's okay, and you just feel it, and you both got it going on. And I start thinking, oh my God, maybe that's it. Maybe you just got to somehow fall in love with the world and everything in it. And I look down at my fingers mid-song, and I see them sort of like thumping away at the bass, thumping away. And I'm thinking like even the strings, where that material came from. And then mid-bar, my fingers just change the way they're playing. It's almost like they're stroking the strings or something. And the sound's still coming out. In fact, the guys in the band are looking over and just giving me these huge grins. And the drummer, he can't even look because we're so tight. It's just so good. And everybody, toothless or no, man, they are up and they are dancing. And it's a big crowd. And I'm like Miles Davis. And like the Messiah. Like wrapped up in a bass player. But I know there's something there. And it's a couple hours later, and I'm back in my basement apartment, and I'm sitting bolt upright. And the lights are all off, but I can't sleep. Because I know it's just like, it's right there. I feel like I'm so close. I don't know what I'm close to. And there's the furnace and the sounds of the cat. Neighbors upstairs. A big fat cat, actually. And I get to thinking about sound, and it's really just neurons firing, connected to those eardrums of ours that right now they're shaking. And the same thing with everything that's coming into my eyes. And, colors and bars and rods in the back, and then that's just firing some neurons, and you got this endless stream of neurons, and we're all just turning it into the room with all its sounds and everything. And I get to thinking that this is true right now, and it's been true always, and it will always be, that everywhere I go, every part of the world I ever get to see, it's like I'm going to have created it. And maybe I'm some kind of God. And now I'm laying across my bed. I'm sort of face down. And I got the edge of the bed, and it's like this big bludgeony sort of chunk of wood. And it's digging in. And the first 5 minutes, it was sort of painful. And after half an hour, it was like excruciating, and it's been an hour now. And my hands, they're sort of white. I can't feel them. And my head is so filled with pain. It's just completely filled up. And the only other thing in my head is this tiny little thought, and it's just this about the world. And it's that it's so filled with suffering everywhere. And if I can just take this pain and just hold it as much as I can. But forever's a really long time. And when I finally roll off, there's like the relief. But then there's this shame. And it's not like I embarrassed myself. It's like I let everybody down. The whole world. And I need that pain back somehow. And I walk to the kitchen and I find a knife. And it's a paring knife with a blade like this big. And I'm holding it. And I'm staring at it. And I know you don't stare at these things too long. Because if you do, you won't do it. So I don't. And I just go bang. And bang, bang, bang. And there's not a lot of blood. And there's no pain. And I'm very confused. And I don't know what to do. And then I get this one clear thought. It's just the only thought, and it's crystal clear. And it just says, Granville Bridge. Granville Bridge, because anything else means you don't love the world enough. And I'm going to tell you quite honestly, I've never been remotely as terrified as right then. And one part of it is that if you're a God, or some kind of God, then everything you do must be perfect, even your thoughts. I don't even know that I'm holding my breath until I think it's like the lungs have just sort of shriveled up. And there's that sort of vacuum feeling in there, and that's sort of like you're in the pool and you got to get up, and I won't let us up. And I won't let us up. And it's like when it's like a hammer going through the throat, and finally it just opens up and I get a quick little breath. And then I just close it again. And I do that 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I don't know. And then it's blackness. And the next thing I see is my brother's face. And he's looking down. He's going, "Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy." And then it's an ambulance. And then it's an emergency ward. And they're pumping me full of drugs. And the last thing I can remember is I'm overhearing a nurse talking about some guy locked up in his basement for 3 days. And I can't stand here and tell you too much about what it was about because I don't know. But I know that all that beautiful stuff, all the terrifying stuff, if it was like some kind of like the doors of perception sort of being thrown open. I was so fucking grateful for Canadian medical system just slammed those things right back shut. Three weeks later, Sam and Paul showed up, and we rehearsed in the hallway of the psych ward. And we had a bit of a laugh because my ass was hanging out as we were doing our little pirate dance and stuff. And I was really fragile. And I was going to be fragile for quite a while. But I was good. I was okay. And 3 weeks after that, we were on stage at children's festival, the biggest one, the one we've been trying to get to for so long. We got our own tent. We're headlining. And we're playing that same song. I mean, it's great. It's great. You know, we found the treasure map. We're clutching it. Sam's over here on one side. He's playing the chords, and I'm over on the other side. I'm playing this, and Paul's over there, and we're both doing our little super crazy dance, and we got our little Russian legs going, and curtain drops down, and the crowd goes fucking. It was awesome. Totally. Small crowd. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. I was pretty glad to be there, but I finally realized I didn't like that song. There was something about it. Something had changed for me. And there's the obvious stuff. You know, the greed and accumulation of wealth and the treasure. And yeah, you don't want to give that to kids maybe as the last message of your great little piratey show. But there's other stuff too. I mean, everybody's got their treasure, right? That thing you really want. And maybe it's the promotion, or it's the wedding and the marriage and the... I had something, I don't know what it was, you know. I was searching for like enlightenment or something. But the thing about it is that when you're just seeking for anything that hard, it's like you can get lost and you lose sight of the fact that the actual thing that you really want, you already have it. So I wrote a sequel to the song. For the kids, for you guys. We actually never got to play this, so the band broke up for various reasons of me coming to Toronto. And so it's a real pleasure to be able to play it for you. And you guys have a little line. So it comes at the very, very end. It goes like this. X marks the bottom of your heart. It's at the very end. Don't mess it up. Because I'm not going to retell that thing. We found the treasure map. We sailed to the X. A beautiful island was there. There were lions and baboons, butterflies and macaroons. Grasshoppers hopped the tall grass without a care. The seagulls were turkeys. The streams, they bubbled Slurpees. The mango was riper than a bear. But when we dug our treasure hole in the mud, in our hole we found nothing but air. So then we dug and dug with guile till we sank beneath the island, found ourselves at the bottom of a deep dark hole. Up was out of sight and we couldn't tell left from right, so down was the only way to go. Dig down through caverns of crystals, deep green seas of mineral, through lakes of oil and the bones where a T-Rex died. Through the earth's nickel iron core, and still we dug and dug some more, and still we fell right out the other side. We tumbled from the planet, headlong into space. I said, hold on to your hat. There were trillions of stars in an infinite space. Paul said, I'm not so sure about this map. There were newborn, there were red dwarfs and yellow giants and newborn yellow suns. There were dizzy planets spinning round and round, but with no place to kick a shovel into space. How could our treasure ever be found? So then we scoured the rings of Saturn, we mined the moons of Mars, we undid the buckle of Orion's belt and freed a dozen stars. We looked while left and right and upside down, inside out and out of sight, and still we could not find that treasure of ours. And we got star-burnt and battered, deep frozen till we shattered. We fell into a big black hole, we got torn to bits. We glued the bits back together so we could search forever, but now there was no place we hadn't been. Now there was no place we hadn't been. Well, I looked at Sam. Sam looked at Paul. There was something in each other's eyes made us laugh about it all. Through all of these adventures, inside all we'd seen were three good buddies with love in between. Now we looked around us, to our surprise, what did we see? A world full of wonders, so wild and so free. So if you ever find a treasure map this much, I'll impart. The X marks the bottom of your heart, my friend. And if you ever find a treasure map, remember when you do, the dotted line leads back to you. So stop seeking treasures elsewhere and you'll see the treasures wherever you be. Yeah, stop seeking treasures elsewhere and you'll see the treasures wherever you be. X marks the bottom of your heart. You guys now. X marks the bottom of your heart. When you stop seeking elsewhere, you will surely see the treasures wherever you be. Let's try it one more time. Here you go. X marks the bottom of your heart. X marks the bottom of your heart. When you stop seeking elsewhere, you will surely see the treasures wherever you be.
Kevin Breathnac.